to have anything recording, and I would not be kind of online at all until literally probably about 6 years ago.
Okay, so it's 9:57. So, I started recording now, and we'll see how it goes.
Okay.
Then,
yeah. So,
should we wait for Anna?
Well, I guess we should wait at least 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Lorenzo, I can't hear you.
Can we write down somewhere the topics we are going to treat to? Right.
There is I'll send you the link. It's in Asana, Lorenzo.
Thank you.
There's an agenda. So every week there's a project called Weekly Agenda. Copying the project. You got it already?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So there, Scrum style catch up, 3 minutes each is the first thing. Then we can talk about time, platform, and that. And again, what I'd encourage anyone to do is, like, the idea is, see, I've put both agenda items on there. Ideally, the group is non-functional until other people put agenda items on. If it's just me putting agenda items on, it means something's going wrong. So the thing to do is just go to Asana if you want something discussed or worked on the following week, and just add something to present or to discuss, or a request.
How can I ask? How can I add a task within a given section?
You just add it and then drag it. If you're on a website, you hover over and it's got like 4 dots and you drag it. If you're on a mobile, you just use your finger and drag it into the section.
Great.
And the other thing we can do is, for instance, let's say if I'm talking about an agenda point, someone can type notes in the actual description of that task. So you can do some note taking then, and we can get quite organized about that as well. Or if you've got a comment, in the meeting or after the meeting, just ask it actually in the comment section below. But, generally, for instance, let's say if Carlos, you were to present something at next meeting and put the agenda on, I could offer to just take some notes and just type it in the description field. So, maybe you don't have time to do that beforehand, but as you're talking, I can write it in, and then we've got a nice full meeting. Okay, well, I suggest that we just start going round, and we've got it recorded, so if Anna turns up, she can catch up with watching the video afterwards.
Great.
We start with Nicolene then.
Like 3 minutes. Let's go. So what I've been doing last week, well, basically I've been trying to connect David with a lot of people that I know in Barcelona that are connected to radio and to other fields that might be interesting. I've been visiting some artists in Hangar as well, been to some talks about centralized, well, basically from the TV, he did a talk, which were a lot of people that David afterwards he could meet as well, which was really good. Also been working on a storyboard for a story with the people that are now in Bordeaux, so we can kick things off at least to start at some point, and maybe this project will grow, but we see how it goes from there. What else? Let's see what I'm going to do next. Well, this week I need to set up the whole Ethiopia adventure, which is going to be interesting. I already contacted a lot of people, because now it's really to set up a space and a time, and the concept, I think we have it pretty clear because we talked about this a lot already this week, David. So basically to set up that so that it becomes a more solid item and I can work through something. And what is blocking me at this point, I think maybe time, because I still have a full-time job and I'm dealing with kids at night, and with working in a very remote town from Barcelona, which takes a lot of my time. I'm a bit isolated over there, so it's a bit hard. But trying to manage everything like goggly like this and see how it works. Was that 3 minutes?
Under 2 minutes is perfect.
Oh yeah, I'm
That's
done. We can move on.
2 minutes.
Don't worry.
2 minutes is even better. If we could do it in 2 minutes, it's quicker. Carlos, how about you next?
No, sorry, I was muted. As I said the last time, I did this document that you can check on Media Circle. If you want to go there and check video production, I posted here. This is what I think is that like the technical requirements for everyone. If you want to shoot video or whatever you want to add, it's like pretty straightforward. If you think of something else, or if I forgot about something, please let me know. It's like really, really straightforward. Just if you're recording with your phone, just twist your wrist and always have horizontal video in order not to have like different framings, because in the end it's, you know, it looks weird. Little things with recording. If you can, always try to record indoors so you don't have this air or, you know, in the microphone. If you can do it in the higher resolution, if you have a camera, then it's always better than do it with your phone. If not, well, try not to record in 480. Just try to go to 720 or something like it. What else did I put? Also, I know this is kind of common sense, but sometimes it's not. Just to check the light source when we're recording, not to have a backlight or something like that, or a very harsh light on one side, just to have like good lighting. And if we're recording with a camera, just use a tripod. Then going to something else, not just technical stuff. If you check down, just going down in this same video production, there's this, it's the document I sent you before, David, where I put some, where I think this is what I thought about, like to have a little storytelling. And the first thing I thought about the intro is that we have to this question of who are we, each one of us, like to introduce ourselves, like what's my name, what's my background, what is the current project I'm working on, and how does this relate to space, to this project, and how did we meet, why do our goals are common, and how do they just like meet in the end in this project. Then second part is here I'm talking more about the different spaces. Where are they? This is important, I think. Then we can just like show it in the map maybe, or something. I will make an animation or something like that. Then the same thing with here I will make another document within the video requirements and the video production here in Asana, for you, all of you, to just like, if you have any questions of how to shoot or whatever, how to show the space or the daily life, the community, or another document where you can just like put all the things that you're recording and just like have a common space where we can share all these files. What else? Projects. I just put there, like, I think that a brief explanation is to 3 to 5 seconds, so we don't have people talking for 10 minutes about their experience in life and here, and like, just, I think that 5 to 10 seconds is more than enough in order to continue. And well, you can check it there, and if you have any questions, just let me know. Okay.
So you're supposed to say what you did last week, what you're going to do next week, and what blocks you. So that's in 3 minutes. That is a presentation of an idea, right? Which, if it's on the schedule or what have you, but we're just going round as quickly as we can. So if you maybe just say what you're going to do next week now, and anything that sort of blocks you or stops you being as productive as you want.
Well, basically, it's just my job, which is blocking me. And another thing I want is to make a little like an explanation video I know it's a little bit, maybe it's too much, but I think it's always nice just to make a little explanatory video, just to how to put the camera, how to put the light, like how to put the microphone, etc. In order for anyone that gets into the group can just watch it and say like, oh, okay, I know how it works, and just see it, and in 30 seconds, just get it. Instead of just reading all this list of stuff.
Cool. So Lorenzo, you have 3 minutes.
Okay, so last week I didn't do anything, almost. I did some little work on the organization of the Akasha Hub in Barcelona, which is like a use case. This week I'm going to focus more on the organization to have something to propose on the Space Circle, and just and yeah, the garden. I'm going to tackle more in like properly these two topics. Blockers is nothing more than me, and I'm the blocker myself. That's all. David, can't hear you.
Oh, I just muted myself, sorry. I just said, how we fix Lorenzo, that's a topic for next time, I guess, then, yeah? Let's go to Gustavo now.
Cool. So yeah, last week, the beginning of last week, actually this was the end of the previous week, I did this document on Airtable where it's kind of a document for profiling each of ourselves. I think I need to find a link to the Sana, where to put that, and we can discuss that later. Then I had a meeting with some people from Starfish looking for synergies and collaboration, but there was no any real clear opportunity. That was basically what I did. What I'm going to do next this week, I really want to work on the story circle. Okay, I will start doing that today, but actually I didn't because I wanted to catch up first with Carlos, which last week we agreed that he wanted to lead this. But at the same time, I saw Vincent was already working on some kind of vision statement and different statements on that, so I didn't want to start directly on that, but having first a view on what the work is being done though. And at the end of this week, I should have this feedback about some grants that I'm asking here in Spain for building up a DAO, okay? Which I already commented to David that I want to put those resources in this project. So that is something that we really need to talk about, maybe not today, but very soon, because if I put those resources on that project, this is on my own personal behalf, which means that I will be looking to gain some governance on the overall project if I achieve that, okay? So let's cross everyone the finger for this week, put energies on that, because it's very probable that we will have some money to be spent and to start working on software, developing people and software.
And what's blocking you?
What is blocking me? Well, that's something that I more or less introduced before. I just want to align on the different views on different people, to organize ourselves on how we want to build up the story circle.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Gustavo. And I'm really happy that Roberto has managed to join us as a black square, the mysterious man from Italy. Can we hear from you, Roberto?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm also, I made it about 10 o'clock. I was still in that time. I couldn't before. I was still having dinner, but yeah, I'm also happy to be here. And I have, you see me as a black man because I'm camera shy. So I cannot hear you. Yeah. Anyway, so like I can give you an update. So from last week, we were basically. So I'm still traveling Europe. So I still didn't get back to Liminal Village. Last week I was with Ome in on top of a mountain in Switzerland, in Geneva, and we had this bonfire link. It was the first time, basically sitting around the fire with having very highly technical and okay, sorry for the kid. So we have and in this very interesting conversation come up, including some of the just a second, I need to do one thing. Maybe somebody else can take over for a second.
Yes, perfect. It's no problem. We don't mind waiting. I actually always like it when the kids get involved. It sort of makes the whole thing a bit more human. It's always like that. Like when I went to Europe as a kid, like in England, kids were kept very separate from adults and squares and things. If you went to the pub, it was just like, you know, grown-ups, and kids were in nursery and what have you. And I got went to a Southern European town, and the kids and the grandparents and the parents were all in the same place, and I just liked it so much more that way.
Yeah, sorry about that. Indeed, she sleeps a little late. So what I was saying, the bonfire link, and across what I was working on as well in terms of last week was before full moon, and now it's after full moon. So from co-creation to integration, we've been devising a funding framework that would allow basically every person that joins spaces to freely roam across the spaces. And this is something that I'm not going to share at this stage because but next week, basically, as I get back to Liminal, I'll also be writing about this, and then I can share the results with you. But it's very promising also with the people that I talked there. It sounded like a very interesting business model that could actually work. So and just setting high the expectations. So what's blocking me? Well, just at this stage, poor internet connection sometimes, but I just need to get back to the village, and then everything, and then I will have more writing time. But now it's a lot of driving time. What I would do also as I get back there is start to prepare for the next hackalong in October, and then we can align on that.
Cool, thank you. We're doing pretty well, 16 minutes so far. So I guess I'm the last person unless Anna turns up. So I can't exactly remember what I did last week, but basically I had about 2 or 3 meetings to do with this event here in Barcelona Blockchain Week. That's basically a chance to present the Space Network at the conference there, which is a conference about governance and blockchain, or more specifically in terms of the public-facing brand, Democracy for All, so democracy and blockchain. So a guy here called Kirse has asked me to curate, if you like, speakers and an installation in that space. And the core aim here is to make the installation connect to as many spaces in the network. So I'm looking at doing it as a World Cafe like conversation, interactive conversation. So something like 6 tables connecting to 6 spaces. And it doesn't have to be a live connection. We can just have some cards on the table. The idea is we record those conversations, that there are provocations on stage. We need 6 facilitators in the space. So I've been looking at the practicality of doing that. And as part of that, thanks to work with Nicoline, I've met some artists. So a woman who's interested in curating a network of local radio stations. With Nicoline, we met, with Nicoline and with Gerard, a guy who can help take the website, which has maps and radio stations on it, and we could add spaces and hubs. So we might be able to get that going next week. I think we have a meeting with him on Thursday. And 2 artists, one illustrator from Taiwan, doing some political work, which is very much like a visual novel, and someone who works with plants and clothes, called Paula Brunner, who's fabulous. I'm meeting her on Thursday. So the idea is we can work with some plants in the installation. The name of the installation would be called Democracy Garden. And then we can have some local democracy discussions in the hubs. And yeah, the aim is to really, at that event, launch the initial network of spaces, and then follow it up with some workshops here in Barcelona at the other spaces. So if we've got a program of legal hackalongs, or we've got a program of something else, to invite people to come to those spaces and continue the discussions. What I'm doing coming forwards is tomorrow I'm actually going to go and see this space. On Thursday, Habib, who's at the Bordeaux space, it's actually on Wednesday, a meeting with a local funder who I think is applying for some French funding where they need a network of spaces, and she's interested in partnering up on that, and that might help Habib get a real theatre space. So that would be cool. I'm hoping to have a meeting with the Goethe Institute tomorrow, initial meeting. I've had more discussions to do with people and content there.
Sorry,
Yep.
Goethe Institute in Barcelona or from Berlin?
From Barcelona, actually, because we have no contact there. We have a contact in Berlin through the City Lab that we talked to, and that's to do with the funding application that can go to the Goethe Institute for cultural exchanges between the spaces for 25,000 euros. So alongside that, I've been looking at legal forms, and there's one legal form, and that's also related to Brexit, because my legal structures are in the UK, and we need a European legal form, and Lorenzo needs a European legal form for the space here in Barcelona. And I came across the legal form, which is quite interesting. I didn't actually know it existed, which is the European Cooperative. So it's a co-op, but it is across all countries in the European Union. So if you've got this legal structure, you can enter into contracts, and in here in Barcelona, but equally in Berlin or in France or anywhere else. And that co-op form is a basic co-op. The downside of it is we need 30,000 euros in the bank account. So I'm thinking about how we could raise that 30,000 euros. So I'm prepared to put some money in, maybe some other people are, maybe it's 30 spaces, 1,000 euros each. Maybe it's 5 spaces, how we could do that sounds really interesting to me. And then we might have a budget over a year where we have something to play with for a year. But that's something I'm looking at. What I'm going to do else next week is I really want to concentrate on this website, and to get the story of the spaces and visually the spaces on the website up and running. I feel that would be really important. And what's blocking me is partly I'd really like to be able to get these circles working and feel that people sort of like that we're able to delegate to each other, or people can own like one of these circles and take that forward, so that it's not me doing too much and everyone's going ahead in their own space, and we can coordinate that a bit more. And that's feeling a little bit of a block to me. I'm little bit concerned that because I'm kind of got more time than people as well, I'm full time, that maybe I'm doing too much and I should slow down, or that it's too much kind of me or something like that. So I'm really happier if someone like, if Gustavo takes on the resources thing and says, oh, David, could you help me with that? Or Nicolene or Cast takes on another space and says, rather than me pushing everything and everyone, that dynamic doesn't feel very good. Yeah, that's about it for me, I guess. So yeah, for me, that's kind of that part of the meeting over. And I kind of did it in about 3 minutes as well, maybe 4 minutes. I was a bit too long. But that's not bad. That's like 23 meetings for the whole minute, and this is like basta. That could be the meeting over, and we go away. And then the idea is, if we want to, if like Carlos wants to meet up with Nicolene and talk about something, or I want to talk to Gustavo about the resource map, we can just either hang on afterwards or arrange to talk to each other one-on-one afterwards, and keep the meetings really short. We do have a couple of other elements on the agenda, so we go on to the next ones now, but we'll try and do them quite quickly as well. So on the weekly meeting agenda, we have as follows. The next item is tracing time, 10 minutes. So as that's me, the basic thing here is I have a need. I have some people and a nice story that goes with the story. So I have Charlotte paying 10 hours a week in my flat for the room there. Nicolene is going to repay that by doing the storyboard. So I'd like to assess the amount of time she spent there and show this kind of barter circle doing. I've got a free space here in Lorenzo's space that he built, so maybe I should be paying something for this in terms of time or something like that. And then I was thinking about, you know, running these courses, and I would like to start getting some hourly monitoring and a little spreadsheet together. And there are also some, once we've got that working, we can run some hackathons on smart contracts, or we can bring in one or other blockchain projects to actually experiment with how we actually do that. So for me, I would like to get on with that. However, I don't feel that I can really do it by myself. So I'm kind of, I had a bit of a conversation both with Gustavo, we talked about this quite a bit, and with Vincent, who's not here now, who's interested in it philosophically and what have you. But really it comes down to me is we want to design a few spreadsheets and get them working really well. And then there was a bit of a discussion going on, which was about, I proposed some idea, which I can talk about now. I'm not going to go into detail unless someone asks me, but about how it could be used in the Zoom meetings. And Gustavo was pointing out that basically, well, it's more natural to do this asynchronously, so that's not in the meeting. And I would really like to have that discussion sometime to really talk about how we do it, so that as much bureaucracy is out the way as possible. And yeah, that's me talking about the time assessment and management. Maybe some people got some questions on that.
No. Seems like no question. Just my observation there was just to, well, I mean, what you mentioned already, that yes, we should have this table, okay, in which we do, we state what did we do, the amount of time that we did, but we need, of course, to have another peer that actually is validating that work and kind of testifying that work that person did on the regarding topic. At the same time, we need also to validate that work that this guy was doing was actually useful for the team. No, it's not like I tell you, well, I have been like 3 hours drawing some flowers for the web page that I intend to scan and then to put it there, but who asked myself for drawing down some flowers to the web page? That is totally out of scope, out of scope on that. No, so we need to have some kind of first of all to validate the kind of task that people will be working on, to validate that the team is accepting that that person is working on that task, and to validate, of course, that that task has been done in the stated period. Okay, so first, this is something very much about trust, personal trust. This is a system that can be hacked if we are in the presence of free riders or people that want to take advantage of that. So these are kind of things that maybe if we do, I understand that if we do that completely in a non-synchronous way, maybe some people won't be really kind in accepting some efforts of people, or if we want to do that during a meeting, this needs to be structured in a very agile and fast way, because people can be burned out about discussing this every week and so on. I'm not sure who has any comment on this.
Maybe I can add some of the things that I gained now by experience and by working with other people. Time tracking, it's not a novel, but indeed it has all this interesting unknown, right? That always kind of makes and break. Somebody declares every minute, somebody only declares only the very important stuff. Somebody is very efficient, so it does it in 1 hour. Somebody is really novel, new, and then he does it in 5 hours, and that's okay. But if that represents a pay, then basically we incentivizing people to take longer, and that's an interesting consequence of that. And indeed, what we did at Liminal was it's okay to say what you did, but you need to find a buddy. That means you need to have 2 people doing the thing together, and they basically validate that they actually have done it and to their best of the skill and time. So this buddy system is also something that comes from IT, and we call it like a pair programming, where you basically have 2 minds over the same piece of code. And what happened is that you might think it's a waste of time because there are 2 people working on one thing. Actually, it's much better because you spot bugs early. You get different perspective. If one person doesn't understand what you're doing, maybe you should talk about it, and maybe as you talk about it, it refines what you're doing. So in the end, the quality is much improved, but say the time spent is double, because now you're 2 person doing something for 1 hour instead of 1 person doing something for 1 hour. So my suggestion would be to actually have to split that hourly rate as well, so that so that to compensate for that. And I'm saying this because if we want to charge everything, then you should charge also meetings, right? So say that we have a meeting with 10 people and it's 1 hour meeting, and we're all listening to each other, but you basically in the end you're charging for the hour that you're listening rather than the hour that you're speaking. So in the end, my solution to that was like, meetings are donations. and so that cannot be charged. So we try to make as little amount as possible as meetings, and not the opposite. So this is my input into this.
Thanks a lot. So, so my experience is like, I just first of all just say that I think I can't remember when I first started the first time bank or community currency, but I've been involved in probably about 6 community currency projects in different countries, and about 4 time banks. So, and at least 2 of them were quite experimental in terms of their methodologies. And I've probably visited about 10, 15 time banks and read up on the research on them. So I know a lot about how people actually treat them in practice, if you like, rather than, so I think that's quite important, sort of, to, it's not like a lot of blockchain currencies and a lot of these sorts of projects, they make up something theoretical, but they haven't actually tested it over many months with real communities. So it's quite useful to build on that. So one thing about that we can use. So for a start, I would recommend making a complete distinction between time and actually being paid in cash, because the incentives, the values, and everything about them is very, very different. So we actually want to pay people in cash, but pay them in cash. It's just very simple. Like, some people are going to get paid for this. You then invoice for it, you pay them in cash, if we need that service, right? And the other thing that we can do is we can just monitor the amount of energy that people are putting in, and we can take that a bit further at some stage where we can use that as a minimal form of currency for exchanging creative services and expertise, right? And the way that you can do that in the lightest amount of bureaucracy is you use the kind of, like Roberto was talking, this pair programming thing, and it's just the fundamental aspect of a mutual credit ledger, that when you have a transaction between 2 people, both parties countersign each other's piece of paper, their book, for instance. So if Lorenzo has asked me to help him with or program this space, and I say to him, I think it'll take me 4 hours, and he says, okay, I'll pay you 4 hours for that. I go and do the work, I show him the work, and I say, it took 4 hours. I invoice him, he said, yes, that's worth 4 hours. We both sign each other's stuff. That's good enough usually for any community. And that's been tested out for at least 20 years in operations in many countries as working on paper and electronically, and it works, right? You can do it with different settings, so you can use mutual credit, or you can do it in a time bank, and we can talk about the details of that, but it's robust enough against free riders, right? The other thing is we're only doing it internally at the moment for our own members, for ourselves, and we're slowly agreeing who moves in. So when we build up that culture, we don't really have to worry too much about free riders. Rather, we have to worry about the opposite, which is people will not log their time. They won't do it because some people just don't like the bureaucracy. They won't do it because some people feel bad about it. They feel embarrassed about saying, oh, I spent 2 hours on this. They just want to say, oh, I did it. It's okay. It's fine. Don't worry. So we really have to, that's the biggest problem in this. And for that, we have to encourage each other to log our time. We have to interview each other psychologically and find out, why do you find it a problem doing it? And we have to make the bureaucracy as minimal as possible. And one way to sort of do both those things is in a meeting like this, if we keep it very quick, like we did for the first 20 minutes. And when we say, right, next week, instead of saying, next week, I'm going to work on this, this, and this, you say, next week, I'm going to spend about 3 hours doing this, and 2 hours doing that, and 1 hour doing that. And then if everyone sort of says, yeah, that's okay in the meeting, the group has commissioned that person, given them authority to do that. If someone says I'm going to spend 100 hours, now when that person comes back at them, you go, no, that sounds a bit too much. You can make that comment. I've never actually come across that in a real life situation, because people are too embarrassed to invoice publicly to the whole group 100 hours for something that no one wants done, right? You soon get a bit of feedback with that, so it doesn't come a real problem. And then when someone comes back next week, they say, yeah, well, I said I'd do 5 hours for that, but actually I only did 2, so I'm only charging for 2. Or I did 5 hours for that, and actually I spent 15, but I said I'd only do 5, so you only get the 5. But then there can be like, you can then say, but next week I want to charge for the extra 10 that I did, and I need to finish it off and it's an extra 3. I don't know if that's okay with people, but if it's okay for me to invoice for that further 10, and usually people go overboard to say, yeah, that's okay, because it's a really bad feeling if someone's put that work in and it's taken longer and what have you. But there's a nice little discussion that goes on there. And when a problem happens, like someone, for instance, is billing lots of stuff and someone's not billing anything at all, then usually what happens is the moderator or someone in the community goes and has a one-on-one chat with someone and says, oh, I see you're not charging for things, but you seem to be doing lots of work, and you have that discussion, and then you change the system and you start to do that feedback. And those are the sort of problems we need to deal with. So basically that way of doing things allows us to monitor things, allows us to log asynchronously in the spreadsheets. And also, if we see that beforehand, you've kind of checked it out, and you just say, yeah, that's what I did last week. I'm going to pay for, I'm invoicing for that. And it's sort of, you kind of almost timestamp, you can timestamp the video, and then that currency gets printed, the transactions into people's account. And that's sort of the way that it's like triple checked. So people have sort of like done the mutual credit balance thing, and they've already done that. But now the group has said, yeah, you said you were going to do that last week. We agreed that amount of time to be allocated. You've done it, great. And then you can start doing all sorts of things from that point of view. You can start letting people, once they've got their balances sorted, just trading. And you can also have, the other thing is, if you've got the circles and you've got a project manager in a circle, circles can have time budgets in a couple of different ways. And then the person who's running that meeting can say, yeah, I agree that so-and-so does this many hours and so-and-so does that many hours. And that's the way they spend that circle's budget. And you can get that as a quite hierarchical project management thing. And you can rotate the project manager, or you can have different governance mechanisms for the circles. But yeah, that's
I think we are ahead of the 10 minutes already, and I got too confused by your last intervention, David, to be honest. I think that you extend too much the concept that you went to explain, and I got lost. Anyhow, this is to say that I think it is a good opportunity to kind of make a vote right now on how we want to trace efforts. And I have to say that I really like Roberto's idea about the body system. So it's more kind of agile. Yes, we have the doer and the verifier at the same time there, and maybe it's just to less bureaucracy and to people to less discussions in meetings. I don't know. So I'm done with that.
Sorry, if we are going to have split the hour in half every time, it's just a matter of inflation. So we can just use 1 hour as if it's half.
Yeah, well, yeah, I agree with that. I mean, and at the end, we are not using this tracing as a medium of exchange, at least not for now. I mean, this won't be translated into money. At least I don't foresee that.
I really like the idea of at least make like a kind of estimation of time about certain subjects in the group, because in that way you're already validating and also communicating what think it's
Yeah.
gonna go first.
My earphones just died, so can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I'm going to turn the speaker on as well. Can you someone say something so I can see if I can hear?
Can you hear us?
I can hear. Yeah. So for me, there's no like. This is just raising a point. We've got a circle here called the time circle. So what we need to do is actually write up a document, and there might be different proposals for different ideas, and we give support and evidence, and it's something that group needs to debate and start. So I'm really saying who's got time and energy to actually look at that area of work and to maybe help with the spreadsheet or write up a document or research the history of how these things use, interview Roberto about the pilot that he did, really actually go into it so that when we launch the network, we're not just making something up quickly, but there's literally hundreds of thousands of hours work in how time-based currencies work, right, and how they monitor it. So if we're going to publish this when we launch the project, we've really got to be hey Anna, we've got to do it quite well.
I made it. I already had dinner.
Well, you're allowed to eat in front of us. That's the babies and food are allowed.
Yeah, but I had dinner with my parents, so it's fine. I cannot leave them alone.
So Carlos recorded it in any case, so
Yeah.
you'll be able to have a look. But why don't you just tell us? We all went round and we just spent 3 minutes each, basically saying what we did last week, something, nothing, it doesn't matter. What we're hoping to do next week. And what might be blocking or stopping you be productive in terms of the work we're doing together?
I'm so busy. I'm searching for a job in Berlin. I'm trying to contribute to the Aragon code, because I don't know so much yet, so it's taking me a lot of time. I have 2 talks, one the 26th, another one 4th of October. I have 2 trips in October, one to Budapest, so it's like I also signing into a course for web development. So, and I go to the gym, I clean the house, so it's like there's much of tasks.
That's a lot of things. Could you manage to do something regarding the space network? Anything?
What we have here is we are preparing a hackathon in Sevilla. And of course, we wanted to do it together with you. Maybe I can pass the image. We have or I don't know how to share this actually.
Well, the best thing to do is to write it up to add it to Asana and just say, these are the dates, this is the help I would like, and just add a few tasks. And but basically, yeah, give us the dates and figure out what it is, write it up, and then after the meeting, we can sort of follow up and see how we can coordinate it.
Yeah.
That's really good. The other thing is which you missed out on is there's a conference here in Barcelona, 25th and 26th, and we're trying to connect spaces. So if you can organize something those dates or follow-up dates, we coordinate a series of hackathons. That would be really cool.
I don't know. I think it's going to be impossible on my side, sadly.
On the 25th, 26th, yeah?
Yes, it's I'm going to be in Berlin. It's going to be too much, sorry.
It's okay. Then maybe you can. There should be an event in Berlin at the space in Berlin, so maybe you can drop in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
David, we're talking about October.
October, yeah. 25th, 26th of October.
For Anna.
Is
Yeah, good. Yeah.
you're going to be in Berlin 25th, 26th October, yeah?
You're waiting for my answer. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I need to check the dates. I'm 20th. I'm going to be for sure.
Okay.
On the 20th. Okay.
Yeah.
I need to check.
Let me know when you have the dates to be here in Berlin, okay? I'm going to
Yeah,
be on the
of course.
25th in Barcelona, so but if you come here before, just let me know, okay?
Yeah,
Cool.
for sure. Thank you, Carlos.
Nice. What are your plans for next week, and what's blocking you regarding Space Network?
Next week.
Next week, what you want to do, and if there is something blocking you regarding the Space Network?
Yeah, just to put you a little bit in context, Anna, we at the beginning of the meeting we were doing kind of a Scrum catch-up session in which people were telling what they did the last week about the space, what they are willing to do this week, and what is blocking you. But keep it short. Keep it short. You don't need to extend it much. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know what is there to do, but like right now I'm stupidly busy. So it's like also like here there are people like wanting to hire us from La Colmena to do projects, and it's like we are only 5 people. We cannot do everything. So.
But I'm interested on that hackathon thing that you were mentioning about, but we can catch up offline. Okay, maybe that's something that we can do together this week.
Yeah, the hackathon. Yeah,
cool,
it's going to
cool.
be in January, this hackathon.
Okay, man, I'm willing to collaborate there. Let's catch up during the week, please.
Yeah, and it's also like, you know, if Anna, if you're going to be like really too busy or what have you, or if it's not that interesting to collaborate with the other spaces as a priority at this moment of time, that's like fine as well. Just you can still be a member or what have you. But for instance, we're applying for some funding and some projects. So, you know, it's only if you are being active that we could include you in those funding proposals. You know? So, for instance, you know, I have to put down a project to the Goethe Institute in 3 weeks' time or 4 weeks' time, and if you want to take part in a program, then we're going to have to sort of like have we have to sort of figure out how involved your space is going to be. The other thing is I want to put you in, find out what Miguel Prado, that guy from Sevilla, is doing as well. But certainly trying to schedule hackathons would be quite a simple thing to do, but we've got to actually have some minimal communication there.
Here I am, like, communicating, this is for sure. Like, I always want to have time to communicate, this is for sure. And
yeah, you can just, but the main communication will be in Asana. So this should be a really short meeting just to say, hi, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm going to do next week. And this is what's blocking me. So every week we meet like this just for 20 minutes. Seems like we could do it in about 20 minutes if we turn up on time.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, just to finish the last point that we were talking about tracing times, I had this idea. I mean, since we are actually facing two different kind of proposals, one is your system, David, the other is the body system that Robert introduced. My idea will be why we don't create two work streams in which the two proposals will be written down. Okay, so then we can vote on which to start implementing and using at the end of the week, or maybe at the beginning of next week. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, well,
yeah, I mean, that's pretty well it. But I mean, we've got a circle called Time Circle in Asana, And the idea would be, yes, put work that group. Like, so if I'm interested in it, which I might be or might not be, if I've got time and energy to put in it, I would get involved in that. I would write up a proposal, or if someone invites me to that and says, oh, could you tell us about this, this, and this? And like you say, there might be 2 proposals or 3 proposals. That group discusses it and then presents back to the overall group here. And we've got the formal way of voting, and then we can vote on those proposals. So exactly what you said, and that's why the structure's set up like that. There's a circle for a subgroup to go out and produce that documentation and all the evidence and the linking to academic studies or previous practice or comments and discussion or interviewing people.
Yeah, please let's be brief because it's almost 11 and we're going to...
No, I'm just saying that there's quite a lot of work to be put into doing it, or not, depending on what that circle wants to do. And then when it's ready, it can come back. And the main thing to do is to publish it to the wider world in a way which gets enough credibility and respect. Because it wouldn't be from, yeah, I mean, for me, like if it's going to go on stage and going to publish it and get like people to really look at how it's working, it's like, let's do it properly.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So I think Asana and also Vincent wrote a really nice text already on time.
Yeah.
Good to read that and for sure.
So I think, I'm not sure, but who's interested in that particular aspect? I know Vincent is. I might help out or not, I don't know on that particular one. But for instance, Roberto, would you want to be maybe filmed or interviewed by Carlos on that? And you describe the story and how it's being used and what the, you know, how well it works, the pros and cons of it. That might be really nice material to go into the video that Carlos is making.
Yeah, sure. We can talk about it. Maybe, well, yeah, we can actually have a, I don't know, to get on camera, but actually to basically formulate a proposal that you can share. Yeah, I'm down with it.
Are there actual people, like when you get back to Liminal Village, that you know, with a mobile phone, or you could interview them and say, oh, this is how we used it, and we could actually film that or not?
I think, are you there, Roberto?
Roberto?
Still alive?
Sure. Difficult to see when there's no video there. Oh, it looks like we lost him, but maybe Carlos, you want to...
I will contact him. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And along that lines, I can probably find some people, there'll be archive footage as well, but people you could interview about that as well.
Okay.
I know some projects. I mean, in fact, Lua, who's not here, she was talking particularly to do with looking after old people and what have you. And the best project I know in that area is in Japan, where they call them kurasa. It means caring, loving tokens, and they use time banks for that. I also know a GP in London that uses it for healthcare. Mm-hmm. And even the founder of Time Currencies, we can interview him. Yeah. So there's quite a few interesting people that we could bring in and really make a little filmic project of. And if we can't get them, we can't get them. But over the next few weeks, we could definitely get a few people to talk about it.
Definitely, and the same. Just have a proposal in the media circle in order to have all these ideas and the people that we can interview.
Okay.
And define what we want from them, so we don't get 20 minutes of people talking, because if not, it's just going to be a nightmare to edit. Like,
Carlos, I put some links as well on the media circle for you to have a look at. Some material that other people as well that had the same issues that they put it up might help to structure this or communicate this as well.
Great, thank you, Nicolene. Let me check it.
And I'm not sure, but with the meeting that I have tomorrow to do with the programming of the conference, there is like a schedule of speakers and people to go and talk to and invite them. At the moment, it's just for the stage talks, if you like. But if we get this installation go ahead and certain spaces, I don't know, like we've got 5 or 6 spaces taking part, then we can also bring in people like who've got experience in some of these projects, and we can either film them in advance and then use those films as a provocation and then have a certain discussion about that, put that in, or we could get live speakers to turn up. Yeah,
that's a very good idea. Yeah.
Right. So Anna, you probably don't know about what that was about, but because you missed it out. But you can catch up watching the video or hang around now and chat, because I'm going to grab a beer now, I think. But I would say, if I have a look at the meeting agenda now, weekly agenda, we have, okay, so we've got some new ones added right now. Explanation about current legal structure, story circle kickoff, and next week's meeting facilitator. So give me some energy feedback. Who wants to continue talking about these other 2 points which we haven't talked about that are on the agenda, just been added right now? So I couldn't see that before, but we got 2 more points. Explanation about current legal structure. Well, with 3 points actually: space platform, explanation about current legal structure, and story circle kickoff. Or we could put them on to next week's meeting. What do people want to do? If it's next week's meeting, go up. If it's let's talk about them now, go down. So what do people want? Next week's meeting, or next week's meeting, or now? Okay, great. So we'll do it next week's meeting. So I'll just drag those and put them on to next week's meeting. So I'm going to just say, let's close this meeting. But as Anna just turned up, if you want to hang around and chat and get filled in on things, let's officially end this meeting. But please keep it open and chat to each other.